I come from skateboarding, that's like who I am. The skateboard culture is so much in me, and my personality and my way of thinking and my way of leading companies. And skateboarding is also about, if you go to the sport, it's about failing, 95% of times you're failing. Because Mondays is one of the companies I started, which is a freelancer community.
So now AI can be the next internet.
I think we should do more with AI in Europe. It was amazing. It was so much fun. I got to work with like Blink 182 and a producer called John Matthias. He was really known in the 80s. Hey!
Welcome.
Thank you.
Today we're chatting with Martin. What we know so far is that he is an entrepreneur. He's one of the co-founders of Because Mondays, and he's involved in the local skateboard community. We can't wait to hear more about him and to get to know him together with you guys. And so you had a podcast?
Yeah, I had and still have, but it's one of those things. Yeah, we can talk about, how I function, but it's, I had a podcast, or I did, but I just did 4 shows. And
how long ago was this?
So it was last 23.
Okay.
2023, yeah. And I still have the idea to continue with it, but I do so many things.
And what was the goal of the podcast?
So the backstory is that let's not make the backstory too long. But
we have time.
But I come from skateboarding. That's like who I am. The skateboard culture is so much in me, and my personality and my way of thinking and my way of leading companies, and all the things I do is very rooted in that. And
that's an interesting segue. What do you mean by that? The skateboarding?
Yeah, so skateboarding is like, it's very much a non-leader community where everybody contributes to a community on their terms and everybody is accepted. So you don't have to be the best. It's not that counts in skateboarding. What counts is like your contribution to the community, and you contribute with whatever you can, So in skateboarding, I remember from when I was a child, I started like at 7, and my brother was 3-4 years older than me. And he was also skateboarding. And both his friends and my friends were like in the same community, different ages, different people, no leaders. And some were really good, so they inspired others. And some were good at finding stuff to build ramps of, and nailing or building ramps. And I remember one friend, his father worked at Ericsson, so they traveled a lot, and so they brought home video cameras from other countries, and we didn't know what a VCR was even at that time. So they brought home a video camera, and we started recording things. So someone contributed with recording videos, and so the community was built about a lot of people adding their strength or their motivation to a community. And there was no leaders, but we did amazing things with, just being kids.
Nice. That's a good philosophy, right?
Yeah, so that's a good philosophy. And that's like that. And I've been playing football and I've done other kinds of sports too, but I always felt like I fitted much better in the skateboarding community where I could contribute with whatever I could contribute with.
Where is this? Just to visualize.
So this was like in the northern part of Stockholm.
Yeah.
So that's like the backstory, and that's the description of me when I have a few companies, how I run them, how I coach people, how I do things. Is very rooted in that each individual has their own contribution to a community, right? So and in skateboarding also, skateboarding is also about, if you go to the sport, it's about failing. 95% of times you're failing. That's what you do. That's the normal, and the 5% is achieving something. So you try 100 times on a trick, and then you achieve something like the 101st time. So failing is the normal, while succeeding is not the normal. And our society is very much about, we always want to show ourselves like succeeding or being good and showing up ourselves, doing the things we do like professionally and stuff like that, but we don't show our failures.
Yeah, and like you say, that's the biggest part of what we do is the journey toward the success.
Exactly. Failing is like the normal thing. That's where we learn from, and that's where we fail and rise up again, and we learn. So.
I had a conversation with our daughter about that yesterday, because she's in school and she's such a perfectionist, and she's like, "Well, I can't do the exercise well, so I'm." It's part of life. It's just to learn and to make mistakes. That's how you learn. So
exactly.
it is basically the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
It's the same thing.
You need to accept your failures, and then you can grow, right?
Exactly.
Nice. So that's a part of you, because you were referring to your podcast. So that's
So going back to that. So that's the backstory. Yeah. And I've been leading companies, organizations, and I always had this mindset. And failing is part of making innovation in businesses, and failing is really important. So the podcast is called "Fail Until You Make It," but in Swedish, "Misslyckas tills du lyckas." Which is like you have to fail your way to making it. So failing is the normal. And the idea was to talk to people about, their journeys and their failures and what they have become because of failing, and trying to show the world a little bit that it's okay to fail, because I think, showing that kind of vulnerability makes it easier for people to be creative and things like that. And the idea of that was also that I started to write a book about this, like a leadership book. So I wanted to talk to people about failing. so I could get inspiration in writing the book. But then stuff happened. I didn't continue really. I just had a few shows, but I just tested the idea, and I still have that in the back of my mind to continue this journey. But it's not
was it fun, the part that you did too? Did it go
I loved it. It's so fun to I think this podcast format is so nice to have the discussions, and everyone can speak about their experience in their ways, and more long form formats. It's nice.
Do you call that podcast you're doing a failure now, or is it not?
Yeah, it's like so actually I don't see anything as a failure. It's more like learning, and it depends on what kind of goals you set up. I learned things from it. So yeah, I failed in a lot of ways, or so to speak, but I learned from it, and everything is a journey, right?
I hate the word failing though.
Yeah.
In some way,
it's quite negative, huh?
Yeah, I like you say, I never see failing as failing. And if we stamp failure on it, then it kind of feels like that's how it ended. But no, failure has an ending, because every time you fail, you learn something from it, and it becomes a lesson, and it's not a failure. So if somebody asks me, do you regret anything in life? I've definitely done stupid things, but I can't call any of them a failure, because they shaped me to the person I am today. And so I don't know. Don't like the word.
Yeah.
Should find a new word for it.
We should instead of calling it failure, it's more like learning or trying things, or it's not failing, right? Really, as you say, it's a journey to somewhere.
But it's the way you look at things.
Yeah,
you can look at it positively or negatively. And if you look at it positively, failure is a way to learn. So is that also part of your Because Mondays company then?
Because Mondays is one of the companies I started, which is a freelancer community. So the idea was to help people start freelancing. This is also like a leadership-less organizations, so to speak. Like freelancing is a lot of like you are yourself, but you want to be in a community. You can contribute to the community, and you can fulfill your own dreams by freelancing. So we started it first to help people, to coach people to start their own freelancing business, and help them to market themselves and build a community around that. Because when you're starting freelancing, you've been employed, for example, and you start freelancing, everything is new. You have to start your company, you have to find clients, and you're alone, and a lot of things. So we wanted to make it safer to be in that kind of space.
And that could be any freelancer.
Yeah, but I come from a lot of technology and leadership and coaching and e-commerce and those kinds of areas. So it started a lot with that. but then it can be anything.
And how many people are there now?
So the network is around 130 people now. But it's, it's like everybody, you want to be there because you want to get assignments or be part of a community or something like that.
And what's the idea behind the name?
So the idea, so Anna-Karin and I, who started it, we had a lot of discussions. It was like when I moved here to Åre, and she lives in Stockholm, and we had like morning meetings where we talked about, okay, we have to do something for the freelancer community. We talked about our why. What's the purpose of us doing this? And we spend a lot of time on discussing values. So this is a really good tip when you starting a business with somebody else that talk about values. What do you value? Why are you doing it? What's your personal interest in this? What's the common interest in this? Where can we find our common view of why we're starting this? So we had a lot of those discussions, and then we wanted to just phrase, okay, why are we doing this? And then it just happened in that meeting, like, yeah, we want to do this because Mondays exist. So that's like, we cut off the word exist, and then we just say because Mondays. So because Mondays exists, that's why we exist, and we want to make them better days than what people refer to Mondays. So that's the idea behind the name.
Yeah, like an inspiring Monday where you do want to get back to work and hit the week in a positive way.
Yeah, and maybe you can, as a freelancer, maybe you can design your Monday. Maybe you don't want to have the startup meeting on Monday morning. You want to start the week in another way. And that's possible. In a corporation, you might need to be like framed in what the organization looks like and what's expected of you. But as a freelancer, you might come to the goal like, okay, I want to start my week in a certain way because that's how I perform the best. So my Monday can be something else than your Monday and your Monday. So that's kind of the idea with that.
So how does it work if I would like to become a part of your organization?
So it's just go into becausemondays.com and sign up as a freelancer. You just take your resume, if you have one, as a PDF and upload it, and our AI will produce a profile for you. So then you will be listed on that platform. And then we have people that helps with getting in assignments to the community. This year has been a rough year for consultants and freelancers. So we've been like, 2024 has been a bad year, but now we see things going up again. So you can get opportunities there, and then you can sign into our Slack channel and be part of the digital community.
You can be any kind of a consultant, or what's maybe the range, or is there something?
Yeah, so it's kind of wide our range, but we mostly look into freelancing within technology, like software engineers, UX designers or designers. We have leadership roles like project managers within organizations or product managers. Team leaders is very common in our community, like especially engineering leaders, like working with engineering teams in software. We have quite a few people working with e-commerce and, for example, doing SEO, which is search engine optimization, working with like website improvements and stuff like that. Leadership roles and leadership coaches.
And if you're part of your organization, what are the benefits, or what happens then if I become?
So everybody is free here. So currently we're more like a big group of people that's self-organized. Going back to the skateboard community, very self-organized, and people also are part of other communities. It's not that you are just part of our community, but you can be part of that. You can get help from each other. But what most people want right now is to get assignments, to find assignments. So we hope that people can get opportunities through us.
And are there a lot of like collaborations between your members, or is that not really happening?
So it's been happening more before, and so as I said, 2024 has been like a down year, and also we've been so putting things in perspective. This business has since 2024 has been like a problematic year commercially wise. We have also been working with kind of a lot of other things, but now we see it's coming back on again, and we have a new partnership with getting assignments and so forth. So because Monday's community, I hope, is coming back now, and that we can arrange more gigs for freelancers.
Do you also have a physical space?
Yeah, so we have an office here in Åre, on the top of the outdoor bodies. I think a lot of people know where that is, in the top of that building.
Yeah.
So that's an office, but it's just mainly me sitting there from Because Mondays, and then I'm involved in a few other companies too that's located there. So
what are the other companies?
So Because Mondays is one of the things I do. Then I also work with a company we call Bricka Labs. And Bricka Labs is applying AI on organizations. Everybody is doing things with AI nowadays, but we are trying to make it tangible and make smart solutions for organizations to use it in a good way with their data. So we are 3 people here in Åre and 1 person in Uppsala.
Do you have like a specific example of what you
Yeah, so for example, we've been working with when you do production lines in the pharma industry, you have a lot of requirements that needs to be fulfilled. So, and that can be like 100 of Word documents that says like, okay, these are things that needs to be fulfilled when you build this production line. You have a tank, you have some other thing going, and you have insulations, and you need to do welding, and then you put like different kinds of materials together, and you create some kind of medical thing. And this is very complex to control if this is fulfilled in a good way. So what we've done is that we have created like test protocols with AI that can take all the different requirements and ISO standards and understand them better than a human can do. And then we make, okay, these are the tests that has to be done. The interesting thing with the things we do is what AI did, going back to skateboarding, is that it unleashes creativity for me. Because when AI started coming around for normal people like us, and not just the machine learning experts that's been working with this for a long time ago, it shortcutted a lot of things. So you can build things because you have an idea. So with AI, I could start programming and contribute with doing things that I really thought was interesting to do. So it unleashed a lot of creativity for me and for Johan and Johan that I work with too. Like we started to like, okay, what can we do with this? Because now we are in a new creative space. So we started creating and we started doing things based on our different skills. Like what can we contribute with this? And that's how it started. Like, this is fun. Let's see what we can do. And then we started with one project, and now it's a company that we try to help people, give them superpowers at work. That is what we say. Like, we want to give people more superpowers at work. So that's.
That can be in any branch.
Yeah, it can. Right now, it can be in any branch. We see the industry, like when you do in production industry, we see a lot of needs for it. And Sweden as a country could be really good if we can make production industry faster, smarter, more efficient, higher quality, and things like that. So it's also like a competitive thing, that like a competitive advantage if we are good at this as a country or as Europe. So this is also, okay, I have a lot of topics that I would like to talk about, but we need more innovation in Europe, I think.
Yeah. Are we not innovating at all then?
Yeah, we are, but we see, Silicon Valley and USA and China they are super innovative.
They call Stockholm or Sweden at least also like the European Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah, Yeah, but I think we're losing a little bit to our. We were really good at it, and Sweden was really good in like the beginning of the millennium, and we invested a lot in internet and broadband, and was the fastest internet delivery in the world. Like Sweden and South Korea, I think was like the top 2 countries, and that unleashed a lot of innovation in Sweden, and I think that was really important. And we have a lot of smart people that's done a lot of things in the 90s, like that fostered this culture.
So now AI can be the next internet.
I think we should do more with AI in Europe, and I think we should accelerate and do more with that, so we can compete
But
with the rest of the
it.
world.
Some people are really still against AI and try not to do it at all.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people I talk to are like, it's too soon. I'm not going to use it. It's scary. I don't want to help it. I don't want to feed it. You do the opposite.
Yeah.
Which I stand behind
Mm-hmm.
because I do think it's very good for innovation, like you say. But where is your perspective on that issue?
I think, this is okay. So here's my perspective of this issue. I think AI is dangerous and fantastic at the same time. And giving AI to the dark forces is really bad. So one strategy, I think, is that the good forces must use AI to balance the dark forces.
Because it's unstoppable then.
Right. Because the dark forces will use it.
Because it's a tool available to anyone.
Yeah. So the good forces has to use it to keep up with the dark forces. That's one thing. The other thing is that we need to regulate it in a good way, so it doesn't go and do too much things of itself.
But that is also an issue. Regulation.
Yeah.
I have a feeling sometimes I read, okay, people are trying to regulate it, they're talking about it, they want to do it. There's always wanna, gonna. I never hear anything of actually being regulated.
Right.
Do you know more about this, or?
No, not more than that. A lot of it's talking about. EU is very good at regulating things. Maybe that's what we're good at in the best thing.
True.
That's what we're really good at in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Regulating things. Yeah. But we also need to innovate on, to bring. So regulation is not the good thing. But I think we need to have like a good discussion globally about this.
But how can you regulate it?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Is there a way? Like, can you put a stop on let's say, I can't even grasp the idea. Can we put a stop on how many questions you can ask a day, or how many times you can use it as a person, or where do you regulate it? In what way?
It's very hard then.
Yeah, it's very hard. It's more like how you build the models and what they can do. For example, I think it's not from a usage perspective. It's more like those who supply the models and the tools that.
But the thing with AI is that it learns itself, so it gets smarter and better.
Because I think that the people who might make the regulations one day, if they will, they cannot imagine what they should regulate because it's already beyond what they can comprehend that AI can do, possibly.
Yeah.
So.
It's going to be an interesting future for sure, but you're at the forefront, I guess, then with the AI company.
Yeah, I'm trying, and this is also back to like I like to see what's around the corner. I want to be involved in what's happening in the around the corner and new things, and not miss the opportunity. Maybe I'm also a little bit afraid of being left behind or being old and
it's definitely a good thing to have. Is like. Curiosity and being open to new things. And what's the other parts? You said another company that you're also involved in.
So then I also I'm also a consultant myself. So currently I do 50%. I work as a product manager in the sustainability space. So a software for sustainability management. So that's something I do. Currently, see for how long I don't know, but that I do, and then I also I started a business called Screen, which helps kids move because kids are too sedentary today.
Okay.
Do you have kids yourself?
Yeah, I have 3.
How old are they?
17, 13, 11.
And was it from your own parenting that you realized this?
So this company started, we started this, I think it was 2017 maybe. But it comes from, so me and Malin, who started this, we worked together at Bredbandsbolaget, the broadband company, like the first deliverer of high-speed internet in Sweden. So we worked there from the early 2000s or late 90s. So we were part of like giving this new digital space energy from broadband, right? And it's a lot of positive things with the high-speed internet. But the downside with high-speed internet is that all the applications that come with the smartphones and everything that can utilize the high-speed internet, right? Which makes kids sedentary. So you see a lot from 2008 when they do measure like how much kids move if you're under 17 from like 5 years to 17. We see that from 2008, what happened 2008? The smartphone, the iPhone came, right? From that time, we started to see the increase in sedentary amongst kids.
Is that in Europe, Sweden, or what?
Globally.
Globally.
Wow. But in Sweden, we see it a lot in Sweden, of course. So they've been doing measurements. They've been doing like studies in Sweden now that for the last 5 years or something like that, 70% of kids under 17 are not moving enough each day to have a physical, healthy life.
What is that limit of moving enough?
So 1 hour of increased pulse every day, if you're under 17, that's what a kid should do. And if you don't do that, you can get like bad health when you're older. So here in Åre, I think a lot of kids, they do that. They fulfill that. But if we look like in socioeconomic areas where and like suburbs and things like that, we see a lot of kids are very, very sedentary, like sitting still too much.
Okay. So what's your solution to it?
So we started this company called Screen, and the idea was to balance screen time with physical activity. So we started with building an app in the phone that said like, okay, you've been doing 1 hour of screen time and 12 minutes of physical activity. You should increase your physical activity. But then it's hard to target the kids because they don't want that, right? So then we targeted schools instead because kids are spending most of their time in school. So what we do now is that we have created a tool for schools. So they have something like this, like a small thing on them, like all the kids, and then they can measure how much physical activity they have during the school day. And then they do competitions between different classes and different schools and set a lot of goals on like how much should we move today. So we work like mainly with schools to increase physical activity during the school day.
What do the kids think about this?
They love it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Kids like to play and play together and do things. And sitting in class, so we see, we did one kind of study that we see if you have a math test in the afternoon, if kids have been moving for 30 or 40 minutes after lunch, they will perform better on the math test. They can concentrate, and then they can sit and do the test much better. If they've been sedentary the whole day and then they do a math test, they won't perform as well. So and kids like to play. It's so.
I think it's a smart way to engage them, I guess.
Yeah.
Through play.
Yeah.
Like you said, if they need limits and borders, that's absolutely not what you want to achieve.
Is it also true that I was just watching a movie with the kids? It's a Dutch movie from 1995. So it's an old one about chess. And in that movie, kids are sitting in the classroom, very quiet, and they're just sitting and they're listening to the teacher. And when I think of primary school, we were quite like that. It wasn't as chaotic as it is these days in a classroom. I'm teaching kids myself here, and I feel they just have a really hard time to just sit still. It's constantly they need to move and do. And I was wondering, is that because they spend more times on their screen, they move less, that they get that itch during the day, they need to move, or what do you guys think that is?
Yeah, I think so. I think it could be. Attention span is being shorter and shorter.
It's more that I think. It's
Yeah,
I think it's the attention span that's shrinking a lot. Because
so what is that of? Is that because of screens?
Yeah,
or is that just...
I think it could be because of screens. It can be, of course, a lot of different things. We see a lot more like ADHD in kids today than we've seen before. Maybe we didn't see it before, and now we more can see it. And I don't know what is what, but it's more like we're also maybe are a bit more aware of like, kids.
Is your product already in a lot of schools, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's in a lot of schools in Sweden.
Yeah, here in Åre as well.
No, not in Åre.
Not needed. Or
I think I believe maybe it's I believe kids here are not the norm. I think they have a lot of activities that inspire them to move outside of school, but
because they do have a lot of screen time.
Yeah, but they do have a lot of screen time, and we stopped focusing on the screen time. We started focusing just on the physical activity.
Yeah, get the balance.
So the physical activity is what is interesting, and the screen time is maybe it's the cause of not being spontaneously moving, but we want to increase the physical activity. That's important.
And what about the combination VR?
Yeah, yeah, but that's good. Technology can help. It's not just bad; it can help too. But you need to increase your pulse. That's important.
And what's an example of that then for the kids?
To increase the pulse?
Yeah,
going to jump yard and
no, but
jumping.
I mean during the school with your
during the school it could be like playing jump rope on the schoolyard or football instead of sitting with the screens on your breaks. You can do something physically active.
But then the school needs to take out of their regular system to make space and time for that.
Yeah, and the school will need to help kids to actually move on their breaks.
And they're on board with that,
Yeah.
Nice.
So we try to help schools. So we give the teacher a tool so they can see how much have the kids moved today. So it's totally anonymous, but they can see the average. So then they can
just be aware of it.
Be aware of it, and then they can, like in the break after lunch, they can try to initiate something.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's a really good idea. I like it.
Yeah, it's a way to give back the bad things with internet.
Balance it out.
Yeah. What bad things did you do with internet? What do you mean?
Yeah, but like the screens were a consequence of high-speed internet, right?
Sure.
And then it started with like we can send data, and then from that all these apps came.
How is it with your own children, if I can ask that?
Yeah, they're using the screens as much as anyone else.
Yeah.
But can you push them to go outside? And
yeah, and this is a topic I think is really interesting to talk about, like how to motivate kids to, going back to my experience with skateboard, and how to get kids to move. They have to find the motivation like from themselves. They can be pushed, but I think there will be consequences later for that. So they need to find like their intrinsic motivation to move.
If I think back about my youth, I just wanted to be outside and go skateboard and play and do all of these things. That was not my parents saying,
but there was nothing interesting to do inside.
No, that's not true. We also had a PlayStation. We also had gaming. We had a computer. No, there was definitely an option to stay inside a lot more. But I don't know what changed during these years. It's probably the internet that is the biggest difference, according to my youth then. Because now you have so many different inputs and influencers and YouTube videos and all these other kind of things. So that's probably the biggest one. So should we just cancel YouTube then? I don't think so, but
yeah,
it's a difficult one. But have you found anything that works with your kids at all?
Being patient to let them find out what they like and not force it on them. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And
I think we got to the same conclusion now as well.
Yeah. And so we talked about this. Some friends like, okay, take your kid and some friends, put them in one area together, maybe 3 kids, and see what happens.
See what happens, yeah. It's
Don't
magical.
force them on something, but see what happens.
Yeah.
Take them to the skate park here in Åre and just leave them there and let them make an adventure out of it.
Yeah.
And they will think it's fun. Or to the ski in the slopes or whatever.
That's a really important part you're saying is mix it. Like only your own family is rarely a spontaneous burst of energy. But if you add somebody else from another family, then poof, everything is possible suddenly. It's really funny to see with our kids as well. We have a basement down here, which is kind of dark and nothing. And now they created a layer in there, which is their own little space. And they put up lights and they made it something really cool. We didn't force them. We didn't ask them. They just came up with it.
Also in winter, it was sometimes hard to take them skiing because, the struggle, the boots and the things and the clothes and everything. And then we started, I think it was on Sundays, to meet up with families in Rotkule and just be there. We would put the fire on and bring food with us and just let them be and let them go with lifts together. Or some parent would go and some kid would say, can I join? Just let it unfold naturally.
Yeah, not even force them to ski. Just the skis are there. If you want to use them, you can use them. But if you push it too hard, then they're like, ugh, I don't like it. I have to because of my parents telling me.
And we're the same. We don't like it when we have to do something. So I think we understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just so important.
Nice.
They need to find it themselves.
Yeah.
And that's so as a parent, I think when a parent has goals for their kids is one of the worst things you can do. The kids has to find their own goals. So they don't fulfill your goals as a parent. But it can force them to move, to have a parent have a goal and force them to do things, of course. But I don't think it's a good solution.
No. Putting them in a situation where they can move is a lot better than forcing them.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that idea. Do you do anything with skateboarding still? Because I don't want to ask your age, but are you still actively skateboarding?
So this is the thing with me and skateboarding. So I started skateboarding when I was 7. I still skateboard, but I'm 47 now. So I have a 40-year anniversary as a skateboarder.
Nice.
But it hurts so much.
So you still fail. You still fall sometimes as well.
Yeah, but when I do, it's not good.
It's not good. No.
So I have to skateboard without falling. So and then
a lot of protection everywhere.
Yeah,
but then it's boring, I guess.
And that's boring. So that makes me a little bit sad. But I will always be like a skateboarder inside, and I will do things in the skate park. But I don't push myself anymore, unfortunately. But I do other things.
I was going to say, do you push yourself in other areas or?
So I snowboard. I've been snowboarding since I was 12 too. So I do a lot of that, of course. Sideways is the thing. Surfing. I try to. So when skateboard go down, I try to increase wave surfing instead.
That can also be painful, though.
Yeah, it can be painful.
I especially got hit by other boards a lot,
right?
And it can be pretty nasty.
But snowboarding is actually how we met at some point.
Yeah.
It's kind of a random adventure because I was relatively new here to the scene, and then suddenly somebody said, "Yeah, we're gonna go hike up on the other side of the river. Do you want to join?" Yeah, how do I get there? With a snowmobile. And then there were this other bunch of people also with a snowmobile, and we went up into the forest. A really nice experience. But I think that's cool that there is a group of people here, even if you're older, that you're still looking for those mini expeditions and experiences. What's the best one you've done around here that you can remember, or the best one, like a good memory?
So I have quite a few ones, but I love those situations, and that's what I like with Åre. A bunch of people get together. Some are friends, some are new into the community, and walk up a hill, and then ski and snowboard down the hill, drinking some coffee, and have a good day. So I think all of those experiences has been, really, really good. And I think one of those, when we were together on the other side of the river, it was really good. It was really good snow and good company, and those happen all the time here.
Yeah. The other one I remember was with mountain biking, the pyramid.
Yeah.
It's the hardest I've ever pushed myself on a bike, I would say, but it was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
Nice. Is there anything in the future that you're looking forward to explore in sports or?
Yeah. So as I said, I want to do more surfing, but living in Sweden, it's always a hassle. So there's Kallsjön here. I tried surfing in Kallsjön.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
You have to explain this a bit because it's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
It's on a lake?
Yeah, it's on a lake. So I did it only once. It's on a lake on the other side of the mountain here. So imagine a lake producing waves. It has to be really windy.
And cold.
And
probably.
cold. So you have this full wetsuit with
The hoodie
hoodie and the feet and the gloves and everything. And being a lake, it's no salt, so the buoyance in the water is not that good either. And the
I
wave
didn't
is
think about that. Okay, so the salt changes that. Yeah.
yeah. So and the wave is like wind waves instead of like powerful waves from the Atlantic Oceans. So it's really hard, but it's of course fun. But I don't know. It's not my thing really.
Did you manage? Did you catch your
I
wave?
manage it, but it's
that's a good start.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun thing to do, especially if you have a tropical experience of surfing, and then you bring that in your mind while doing that, and it's a fine contrast.
How many times a year is it possible here?
Oh, I don't know. So no, I'm not a Kallsjön surfer. I just did it once, but I see on Instagram the guys who do it a lot.
Yeah, lots. Because I would think it's maybe like 5 days a year that the wind is strong enough or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But it's still a lot for a lake, I would say.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but not that people move here and are like, oh, we can surf on the lake every day. No, it's just it's a rare opportunity.
Yeah. And then I'm curious with my daughter, she's into horse riding, one of my daughters. So I think that's I don't know anything about that, and I think that's something interesting to follow her on riding horse and maybe learn some things myself with that.
You haven't done it yet, jumped on a horse yet.
I have, but I'm really bad at it. I'm good at setting up these things they jump over.
Yeah.
but I have a friend. He was saying something really smart when he took his kids trail walking in Abisko, and he said like you should treat your kids as you treat the reindeers. You follow them. And they set the pace, right? And that's what I like to do with my kids. Follow their interest and see how can I be of service to them. And that's what I think is interesting with her horse riding, or my son who has been snowboarding but started skiing because I'm snowboarding and he wants to be better than me. Yeah. So he changed to skiing, and I think that's interesting to follow to see.
Yeah. So you have the one that's skiing now, the other one horseback riding, and the third one she doing?
Yeah, she's 17 and she's snowboarding.
Yeah,
that makes me happy.
Nice.
She's she's on the way to adulthood. So I think that's really inspiring to see like what that will happen with her next steps.
Nice.
She's a lot into like doing different things. She makes nails for her friends, made like a business out of that because
nice.
Smart.
Yeah. So
she has the entrepreneurial mindset of her dad.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I know she don't like me talking about that, but she's
sure. Maybe one day she can come on.
I think she's an entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah.
I'm so curious about your past, because we talked about where you're now company-wise and skateboarding, but what happened in between?
So I've been doing a lot of things. I started my first company when I was 16, 17. and I was about to go into the music industry. That's what I grew up with skateboarding and the punk scene, started a band. I started working with sound engineering and like recording music. And me and my friend, we got a record contract for our bands, his band and my band. But it was like a crappy record company. So we started our own record company instead.
Nice.
We said, if they can do it, we can do it. Like naive young boys.
16, you said. Okay,
16,
let's
yeah,
start.
16, 17.
Let's start
so
a
we
record
had
company.
we had to have our parents, signatures on starting the business and setting up the bank accounts and stuff.
And what instrument were you playing?
I was playing the guitar.
Okay.
I was never good. So the thing is, like, I've never been like good at skateboarding or competing or anything. I've never been good at playing the guitar. But it's the same thing there. Like, I had other things that I contributed to in the community, like in the music industry. I contributed with sound engineering, and I loved how microphones worked and how we could make good sound and stuff like that. And I also been, being the project leader. So we started the company and we produced some records, and I went into the path of the music industry. I educated myself in sound engineering and moved to California to work in a studio.
Really?
Yeah, and I worked with some cool bands, but like as an assistant or intern.
What age were you then?
I was 20.
How
20,
does that work?
21.
Because you cannot just say, well, now I'm going to California.
Yeah, but I went to school, and then we had 5 months of internship in school. So
What project did you choose at school, or what direction?
Sound engineering.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I did some media production and stuff like that too. But then we had 5 months of internship that people did in different companies to practice what we learned. And then I was thinking, yeah, Australia or California would be cool.
Nice.
So I called up the biggest studio in San Diego. I have been to San Diego before, and I like the Southern California culture. So I called them up and said, hey, I have 5 months of internship. Do you have any open positions that I can help you and assist your engineers? And then this guy who answered, he like, oh yeah, I had a Swedish girlfriend once, and she was so nice, and I loved Swedish people, blah blah blah. Yeah, you can come. It was like just like that, because I was a Swedish. He had a relationship with Sweden.
So being at the right moment, at the right time.
So then I came there, and then I noticed, like, okay, they had like a long queue from all the sound engineering schools that wanted to come to this studio. But I got like this free pass.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So I stayed there for a year.
How was that experience?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was so much fun. I got to work with like Blink 182 and a producer called John Matthias, he was really known in the 80s, working with the big bands in the coolest studios in New York and Los Angeles. So,
wow.
So I had to be I was his assistant. I learned a lot of things.
So you followed him around, or they came to your studio?
No, he worked in the studio.
Yeah.
So
these bands came to that studio?
Yeah. So all the bands that couldn't afford the LA studios, they went to our studio in San Diego.
And why did you leave then?
Because of visa.
Yeah,
so I couldn't stay and work. So I moved back. So that's what happened. I moved back to Sweden, and then now I in this music industry, and but in Sweden I didn't have the contacts. So, and then I met a friend at a bar in Stockholm, and he said, hey, but you know some programming, don't you? Yeah. I guess. Yeah, I got a job for you. Come join me on this .com startup. So then I went into programming, and then I've been like in the tech industry since the beginning of 2000.
But you didn't have that much experience into programming. So how did you pull this off?
Learning by doing. So I had some experience, and I had some computer experience because I'm curious. But I had to learn things.
So you're a self-taught man
Yeah.
in most things.
Yeah.
I guess.
You guys are the same.
Yeah.
This is so funny. It's
so
such a mindset. Yeah.
I think I'm a bit naive in a lot of of things. Like, how hard can it be? And now there's YouTube and Google and AI who can help me with everything. Learning things is easy.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely in an age now where everything is available.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just your mindset. If you want to learn something, it's there.
But so you guys are both 47,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm 34, so I'm a lot younger. But I think I can learn from you guys. I find this interesting. I feel now that I'm getting into the next level. Like 34 is when getting older really starts. I feel that. I feel like physically your body starts to change, your mind, as a woman, your hormones. I'm not going to talk with you guys about PMS. I'll do that with other women. But yeah, you're like you say with skateboarding, your body, can get hurt more. Have you guys found tricks how to deal with this in the last years? What is it?
I think the trick is to stay in a 14-year-old mind as long as you can.
Yeah.
To just think back to, if I were 14, what would I do then? And then see how you can apply that, and like keeping the mind young while getting older.
But in some way you can't, because if you do that, then you crash skateboarding, for example. So you have to adjust, but you still want to keep your quality of life.
Yeah. But then change, like not doing the risky things, but still like the find things that still are playful and fun and not being so adultish.
Right? Don't grow up too fast.
Don't grow up. It's a trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be the kind of don't grow up too fast, stay young, but do take it down a tiny notch. Maybe.
I think as long as, I think learning is a key here. Like, as long as you learn something or grow in some way, and it doesn't need to be on the same path as you've been on before. If that path, you're not growing, you're not learning, change the path a little bit, and then you can grow and learn again. Yeah. And while growing and learning, you feel motivation and inspiration, and then that's how I think about it. Yeah. That keeps
so as long as you're willing to change course, but keep your curiosity.
Right.
My grandma just turned 100, and she's still a very alive person who drives a car and lives in her own house, and she's amazing. And she also said that curiosity was what keeps her going, the magic trick to life.
Yeah. That open mind, being curious, constantly trying out new stuff. I would say saying yes to a lot of things as well. Not everything, obviously, but
because that's also the struggle with AI for people, is that they're scared of it taking jobs away. Whereas I believe that there's always new jobs that we can do, and that we shouldn't stay in the same job for 40 years. And that can be scary, but also, it keeps you young, like you say. Yeah. So maybe we should do it more.
You look at it as a tool as well. You can use it instead of being scared of it.
Yeah.
That's embrace it instead of fight it.
But if you see it, because we use it, AI. So for us, it's something tastbaar in Dutch, like something
tangible.
But for a lot of people, it is like a dark cloud. It's just like, but I can't use it. I don't know how it works. How do I use it? What does it do? So where do you start if you have that mindset?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Do you have an answer, Martin?
Yeah.
So how I think about it is just to try, just don't be afraid to fail. Because I think that was when computers came, everybody who didn't get into computers were afraid of, like, oh, if I click somewhere, it's going to break or something like that. Don't be afraid to fail. It's fail safe. Again, fail until you make it. Same thing here. Start trying and see what happens and be curious about it, I think. I think that's important. But you also need to know where to start. And if you don't know that, then ask someone who has started.
You can go to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Open AI, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And then ask, how do I start?
Yeah.
Then you get an answer right there.
Give me a course in AI, and then it will give you a crash course.
Yeah.
That's a good tip.
It actually works. The first sentence into ChatGPT, how do I use you?
Yeah. Absolutely. But how do you see your future? still living here? You want to move around more, or?
A friend of mine, he told me once a thing that stuck with me: only plan 1 year ahead. And I like that, because thinking too far ahead, it's just dreams. And 1 year ahead, maybe you can set yourself in a direction somewhere. So the next year I'm gonna stay here, and my kids go to school here, and so I think I'm gonna at least stay in Åre. I like Åre so much, but it depends on what happens with the kids when they move away from home. If they're gonna stay here, maybe then I'll stay here. If they move somewhere else, then maybe I do too. I'm super inspired by Portugal. We had an office there, so I could go there and surf.
Where in Portugal?
In Lisbon, or like we had a co-work space that we had a few freelancers that work from there. So I wanted to be more in Portugal. I really like it. It's the end of Europe towards the rest of the world. It's so cool. And it has a lot of surfing and good climate and great food. So, I like spending time in balancing the Åre community with parts of Southern Europe too.
Portugal's good. We spent a year almost in our camper there. And just traveling along the whole coast and kind of living there, but then on wheels.
Yeah.
And we thought about moving there. It's definitely been an option until we drove into the mountains in the Pyrenees, and we're like, nah, the mountains is where we belong for sure. But it's also, it's not the easiest country in the world, with the people struggling with the minimum wage being so incredibly low. And forest fires are mental at the moment. I hear more and more through the grapevine, people's houses getting burned down, and literally people I know through somebody. It's becoming almost a new normal. So that's quite scary.
Yeah, that's scary.
But is that ever going to happen in Sweden at that rate, or is the country too wet?
I think if it's happening here, then the world is on fire.
Yeah,
we're too far.
Too. Yeah.
This is up north. We're almost at the Arctic Circle. So
right. Yeah.
Let's not hope.
But do you think of Canada is on fire at a crazy rate right now? And in some way, that is a wet and snowy climate.
Yeah.
Most of the year as well. So I'm always a bit surprised by that, but it does happen.
Not experts on the subject.
Fingers crossed it stays away for now. Yeah, but 1 year of plans, but what are your dreams then? One crazy one, like a bucket list dream, like one where money, time, it's all not an issue. You can just make it happen. Hypothetically.
Hypothetically. So, so if I could, so we can put it in different aspects then. Okay. From a living perspective, I think living in Åre and in, mixing between two different places, like Åre and Portugal or something like that. I see that in my dream, but it's not possible right now. From a working perspective, I identify a lot with my work, with what I do, and I really see that it would be so much fun to help businesses be started, to work with coaching, mentoring businesses, and see the young energy of entrepreneurship happening, and be part of that, and try to work with, supporting as much as I can. I think that would be so much fun. But then also I'm so curious about my kids, what they're gonna end up, where they're gonna end up. I think it's not. I don't have a dream for that. It's more I'm so curious about what happens when they grow up and they move away from home, and where they're gonna end up and what they're gonna do, and that kind of will lead me a little bit, I think.
That's a beautiful way to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You have the same, right? Your family is living in the Netherlands, and you're living here, and it's a bit spread all over.
All over the world.
Yeah.
But because that you're living here, and same for my family, they also come and visit here. Their lives has changed a little bit, and there's perspective that's opened as well. And that's something you cannot predict,
right?
In before time, right?
Yeah.
But it's it's going to be interesting for you to see where that journey leads to in the kids' life.
I don't think we ever thought we would end up in Sweden. But
no, exactly.
So, but you've been here like 4 or 5 years?
3 years.
3 years. 3 years. Yeah. And so, what are your dreams? I think it's so. I think it's so interesting with you coming here and you stay here and inspiring people outside of here to come here with the Nomads family and everything you do. So, what are your dreams?
It changes all the time.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, my dream was to start a podcast, and that happened. So I think
it's similar to what you were saying. It's not so in the distant, in the far future. Things happen because the way we live and things evolve, and from one thing can lead to another. So a random conversation can lead to starting a new company or to going on a trip
But the dreams are important, because if we have a dream, then that is a little bit our goal of where we want to go. And then if opportunities come along our path in that direction, then we see them happening.
Yeah.
So if we don't have that dream, we will never get in that direction. We might not end up at the thing we're dreaming of.
Right.
But it pulls us in the right direction,
right.
I think. And right now, I do have a dream, actually, is going on a really big road trip to South Africa or to Japan, starting here.
Oh.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I get one of those things in my head, then it gets serious. Like, I do see it as a possibility.
Yeah.
And it's right. For example, right now, it's not very safe. So the middle of Africa is a red zone, can't go through there. So now I'm already talking with people like, oh yeah, you can go put the car on a boat in Rotterdam and then you can ship it, for example. And it feels a bit like a shortcut that is not allowed to do. But on the other hand, if it's really, really not safe, then maybe we should do that. But yeah, knowing that I want to do a very big road trip, I will probably now meet people and suddenly, yeah, they have done something or they know someone and I go in that direction and I might not end up in Japan, maybe in Alaska. I really want to go there too.
So what's the route to Japan?
Yeah, that's a bit not so good right now.
Right.
There's not really one valid option. And China is a big problem, I read. So that if you want to drive through China, you're not allowed to do that without somebody accompanying you from China. So they recommend you to find more people that want to do it and then do it together as fast as possible. So that's a challenge. Yeah, it's a problem right now. The world is too unsafe.
Yeah.
And I hate saying that because I always believe that you find a safe way to get somewhere. I believe in the good of the humans.
Yeah.
And we traveled so much and we hitchhiked in crazy countries and it never did anything go wrong. And I was talking to this travel specialist about Africa. And I was like, are you sure we cannot do this? And he said, well, knowing you and hearing your stories and you and Tim, I think you guys will manage. But don't do it with children. Because if something happens to them and there is no hospital nearby or you get kidnapped or whatever, that's not fun. I was like, okay, you got a good point there.
Yeah, it's going back to this with failing. You have to choose where you can fail, and that's where you don't want to fail, right?
Yeah.
Like managing the risk of that, because that's scary with the kids and
still very young too. So
yeah,
that could leave a scar for the rest of their life.
Yeah, but somehow that life on the road always pulls us. I think it's or at least if I speak for myself, it's my happy place. If it was up to me, I could live on the road forever. But I do, however, really appreciate having a base camp for the first time in our lives. And yeah, this place that honestly feels like home more than home, like the Netherlands, Belgium has ever felt for me, is a good start, a good point to start dreaming of again now. And now I can see new options, but now this is my base camp.
So I'm curious, like, what is it with Åre that makes you feel like this is your base camp?
That's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So I've been thinking a lot about that because I feel the same. I'm not from here. I'm from outside of Stockholm, but
I think in one of the main things is the community, actually. So the people that move here are different, have a different mindset. And that does a lot because it doesn't matter where this could be somewhere else. This could be in Belgium or in France or whatever. But if these same kind of people would move there, then that same energy would be there.
Yeah.
So that's the number one.
I think that people are open-minded, and I've never noticed that I told a story to somebody and they were like, "Oh, you're crazy," you know?
Yeah.
Everybody's open for my stories, and that says something because I tell weird stories sometimes. You know, like our life has been a bit crazy, and back home they would be sometimes negative about it, like, "Whoa, you know, why would you do that, or how, or are you sure you want to do that?" It's a lot more towards the fear and the failure that we talked about, and here you feel like people are more open to taking risks, or they have moved here, so they have taken a risk.
Yeah.
They look at life that tiny bit different. That for me makes all the difference.
Yeah, and especially a lot of people moving here, you don't have your family or your close connections that you have from where you're coming from. So you need to build new connections here. And so a lot of people wants to build those connections. I've always also been thinking a lot about this, like there's so many people in this community that contributes to the community, like that adds something, like you are doing, like you are adding something, you're doing this. This is adding something to Åre, right? And I think that's so beautiful in this village or town, or what do we call it, in this mountain. A lot of people is contributing to build this community together, and that's so cool.
You said that at some point that you read somewhere that the amount of times the word "I" was said these days instead of "us" in books and papers and magazine, remember, was so much more than it used to be. So we've become so much more individual and everything, and I think that's a bit what we feel here again as well, is exactly what you say. It's more about us, and it's more village than it is in a city. You're just like, you have your house, you walk outside, you rarely say hi to people on the street because you kind of just walk and you feel awkward and you look at the ground. Yeah, so it's a different. How was it for you to move here? Was it easy, like without your family and friends?
So my experience. So my youngest kid started last year in kindergarten, and the other two in school. But there was a lot of other kids and parents that moved in August, which is like the move-in month here, right? So a lot of other parents. So I got to know a lot of people because my son started kindergarten in a new kindergarten here. So through that. And then that started to build a community, as like a sub-community of newbies in the town. And that grow and grow and grow. So that was one really positive thing moving here. So a lot of people built this community. And then I went to House B, which is this co-working space in Åre. And that was also really helpful in, finding people that I never would have met otherwise. I'm really grateful for that kind of co-working space. It's really important for Åre, I think. And then I started to. So when I lived in Stockholm, I never did anything with unions or like clubs, like sports clubs or anything, because I never felt I had time. I didn't want to contribute to the community because there was so many things, and maybe also my kids were smaller, so that's a constraint in time too. But when I moved here, I was like, yeah, maybe I should start engaging myself in the skateboard community in Åre, because there was a really cool, nice skateboarding community when we got here. So that was also really, really interesting to be part of that.
And I guess it facilitates it here in Åre a lot easier than maybe in a city or something, that you are driven or pushed more to look for those opportunities and communities, because otherwise you'll be sitting alone in your room all the time. Because there's no family, like you said.
Right.
So,
and how does it work now, the skateboard club?
So the skateboard club, skateboarding is, it's on the rise again. I think that's so cool. And with a lot of effort, we managed to raise a lot of money to build a skate park. And now in Järpen, the Röismohallen, they raised a lot of money and built a skate park, and a really cool thing too. So now we have 2 really cool skate parks in Åre, and the skateboard community is rising, and we have the girl skate community is really cool. Pernilla, who's working with the girls, she's doing an amazing job to build that.
Is that all ages, or from what age?
Yeah, we
they
try
start?
to not be age restrictive. That's what I like with skateboarding. It's like a little bit leaderless, and it's more like you inspire across ages. So we have Mondays in wintertime inside in Lokalen, and in summertime in the skate park.
And is everybody welcome there?
Yeah. So we try not to do like age-specific groups, because you want to get inspired from, if you're young, you need to see the older ones, and the older ones take care of the younger ones and things.
And if people are interested in joining, where can they find more information?
So they can find us on Instagram, or Skateförening, or skateboard.org to join the community. And something really cool is that we also started a snowboard section for this winter. So building on the idea of sideways sport, so Åre Snowboard Club is part of the Åre Skateboard Club. And we have a really big snowboard community growing up for this winter, and that's really cool.
What's the plans there? Do you have any concreter plans?
Yeah, so with the snowboard, with snowboarding in Åre, there's one weekday in Bräcke. They usually go snowboarding in the evenings. So that will continue with all the different clubs.
For those who don't know what Bräcke is, it's a snow park.
Yeah, it's a snow park in the snow park. So that will continue, and the snowboard club will facilitate a lot with that. So that's really cool.
But that's focused on younger people, right? That's not age.
Yeah, but it's not like super strict on age, but it's kids and adolescents. So that's really cool. Those who want to start competing, they can do that through the snowboard club and travel to competing places. So I think it's really cool that this sideways culture is growing so much in this village. A lot of kids like to snowboard now.
You manage a skate park. Is there any other goals you guys have, or ideas, dreams?
When I joined the skateboard club, we talked about like we should have a vision for skateboard, that Åre is, people outside of Åre should think about skateboarding when they think about Åre. That would be cool, right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
because it's a ski resort, and skiing is the thing people think about with Åre. So we've been, exploring ideas like, what if we could build a ramp on Åreskutan or on Trillevallen or some place, and we do like a midnight session in the summer when it's still light, and we have a lot of drones filming this when pros are skating on the top of the mountain. Wouldn't that be cool, right?
That would be very cool.
Yeah, so that's something, like we're talking about, like, yeah, that would be cool, but we haven't put any thought into that. But
maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
It's a good dream.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
That's very cool. I think Victor will come join it.
Yeah.
With both drone and all.
Yeah. Imagine doing that, and the exposure, like on social media, to have at midnight some pros skating, and it's bright and.
So what is stopping you from realizing this?
I do a little bit too many things, so I had to shut down a few things.
Choose priorities.
But yeah, and I would say, I must say also, with the skateboarding community, it's so amazing people. Patrick is doing so much amazing job for the skateboard and snowboard community, and a lot of people. It's like very decentralized organization, and whoever wants to pull off something and do something, they can do it. And it's a lot of people that has been working hard for the skate park and everything. So I'm so grateful for that. It's really cool. And that's what I say, like, a lot of people contribute to the Åre community, and that's so cool to see.
So you say you do a lot of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is your life super busy, or is there some space left for me time, like more
I have a
development
lot
time?
of slack. It's more like I'm spread on many things, but I try not to work too much.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm a little bit here and there.
And are you conscious about that side, the mental health part? Are you doing
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah. So okay. So this is a story that I think is important to tell too. I had a burnout in 2015, 16. Like I crashed. Mental health issues from a lot of things. Yeah, I built a house. I had small kids, and I had a job at H&M, which I was leading too many things. It was like a really tough job, and I crashed from that. Like I couldn't work for 3 months at all, and then I had to like start working a little bit more.
Well, how
gradually.
does that work? You wake up one day and you're just in bed and you say like, this is it. I can't handle it anymore.
Yeah, it's like it started with like going to the grocery store, and I get just dizzy, and I couldn't cope with it. I couldn't cope with meeting people. I couldn't, meet people. Taking the kids to kindergarten was like such a challenge. So the brain kind of shuts down. It's really scary.
Like a self-protective
it's
thing.
a self-protective thing,
Saying it's too much.
The body say you're doing too much, or maybe it's not the too much. It's not like stress is. It's very difficult to say like what is bad and good stress, but doing too much is not always the thing. It's like when the stress is with a lot of worry, for example, or you cannot manage, or you see like you're not getting out of it, or things like that, and you have stress constant all the time. You don't have like ups and downs with it, so the brain shuts down, or it like turns down. It protects you, so you shouldn't do this. So that was what happened to me, and I went to therapy in that time. And
was that easy to go to for you mentally?
Yeah. I went to therapy, and I have this really amazing friend that really helped me. So these two things helped me a lot. And my therapist and I were talking and she got to know me. And then after a while, she helped me. Okay, we need to set some goals for you to get out of this. And then she helps me to figure out that my goal is that I'm not going to be employed anymore. That was my problem. I couldn't fit into that structure. So I set the goal that I'm going to resign from work and start my own business. That was my medicine. So then that made me free, and that made me on a path that I wanted to go to. So from that, I started to build, myself in my own business, and that's
so.
That
if I understand this correct, the burnout had to do. So it was about doing too many things, maybe at the same time, but mostly because it was not 100% what you wanted to do.
Right. I felt suffocated in the situation I was in, and working for a big company. I don't blame H&M, or maybe I shouldn't name them at all because, but yeah. I shouldn't blame the company I worked for were really, really good. It's an amazing company, but I had trouble being the entrepreneur in that kind of setting because I wanted so many things to happen there. But it's hard. It's too big, So
it wasn't fitting you as a person,
no,
and you didn't realize that.
I realized at that time, I need to run my own things.
And has that been a solution to everything, or have you found out other tricks that help for you to stay balanced and keep your mental health in check?
Yeah, like I usually think if you have fun, you're doing the right thing. Is one of the principles I try to stick to, and that's a really good one. So from that day, it's like I choose things that I like doing, and that also it's easier. It's easier to do them well when you like it.
For sure.
Do you have any advice for people that are, maybe stuck in their ways and really wants to do their own company or want to do something else?
Yeah, so it's very different from person to person. But I think if you're thinking about it, try to explore it, talk to people, try something simple. To see if you can manage it in some way. It's always a risk going from being employed and the safety with that and going to run your own company. But get help. There are like really good institutions that can help, like Almi and Peak Innovation here in Åre. If you have a good idea, I want to do that. But also talk to people that's done that and see how they can. There's a lot of people, me included, that really enjoy like giving advice or coaching, or just call up and say, yeah, I have a question about this. How should I do that? And so
you're not into it alone. You can use everybody around you.
No, there's a lot of. But then I think so. I think the society should understand the challenge of starting something is really hard. So I think society should help even more, and I think people should help people who wants to start some journey on something to, buy their things or promote them on social media, or, all these things, because everybody needs a lot of help.
Yeah. And together you're stronger.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
Is there anything we haven't touched on that you still wanted to talk about?
Seems like
we've been talking about a lot of things.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe there was something specific that you had in mind too.
No, I think it's just so cool that you're doing this. I'm so curious about listening to what people who will be interviewing and what will happen with What's Up Åre. It's such a cool thing.
Thank you. It's been a good journey already so far.
Yeah.
And you will be amazed by the stories.
Yeah.
I was amazed so far.
Yeah, every time I'm surprised. Things come up that I never expected. And it's been, that's the end thing. Like, as anything that we do, it doesn't matter where it goes, because we cannot predict the future of What's Up Åre. And it might even end up being something completely different. But the journey itself is what it's all about in this case. Again, just like we had with our bus or other projects we started, every episode that we do, we have a blast and we learn and we fail and we make mistakes. And it's just really fun to do.
Yeah, the process is the goal, not the end goal. That's that's how it should be.
That's how it should
be. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Is there a place, an Instagram or something where people can follow your future endeavors and adventures and what you're up to?
Yeah, they can follow me on M Hollstrand on Instagram, and I'm on LinkedIn. So maybe more of my professional me is on LinkedIn, and Instagram is more me and my friends snowboarding. But maybe
that is also fun. We'll put it in the description below. And to wrap things up, we have some rapid fire fun. You ready? Skiing or snowboarding?
Snowboarding.
I think we got that one already.
But I actually said to my friend Thomas, who is a skier, that maybe I should get some skis this winter for top touring or for touring. So I'm open to skiing, but snowboarding first.
Tim recently started skiing
last year. Yeah.
And what do you actually recommend it or not?
Yeah, I think it has its benefits and it has its place on the mountain. But for me, it's also snowboarding up and then skiing somewhere down there.
And it's been fun for you to ski with the kids, though.
It helps with the kids because they're also on a different level. I try to grow with them so that I can still go with them when they're older.
Yeah,
on skis.
Hot tub or sauna?
Sauna.
Evening person or morning person?
Oh, this is a tough one. So right from a reflex, I would say morning person. But I think it's changing. I don't know if it's with age. I'm turning more to an evening person, but I am a morning person.
How does that reflect in a daily life? How does it show?
I am a morning person because I'm more creative. I'm more productive in the mornings, but I tend to sleep a little bit longer than I used to do. Like from the last 1-2 years. And I'm usually really tired in the evenings.
So now you're sleeping in while having creative dreams.
Yeah.
The best of both worlds. Hiking or biking?
Biking.
That's it, that's all. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you. It's been great.
Thanks.